Happy Monday, Soccer We Trusters. We have a lot to talk about, including previewing a U.S. versus Mexico game in the middle of the week. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it.
Yes! What is up, everybody? Welcome to Mike McGee's favorite podcast at Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Trash Can King, Cream Cheese Conrad, also known as Jim,
alongside Hollywood Harry, also known as Heath Pearce, and Charlie Chuck Wagon, Morning Footy Davies. And like always, we got some things to discuss, perhaps doing a little preview for the U.S.-Mexico game this Wednesday, and maybe a little recapping of the games that our player pool played in this weekend, like Josh Sargent scoring against Zach Steffen, though Josh's team lost to Zach's 5-1, and Norwich is not looking good for a playoff championship to try to get into the Premier League. Daryl DK teared his Achilles. That sucks, ASS. And then, of course, we will dive into the U.S. men's national team, officially knowing who is in their group for this summer's Gold Cup. It looks manageable, I think is the right word.
A lot to talk about.
There's a lot. But let's hear from Heath Pearce. How was your weekend, Heath? I know you were in Dallas, Apple TV, calling games. How'd that go for you?
Well, you didn't know till you asked me, Jimmy. Don't act like you're up to date on my schedule. You don't care. Don't. I mean, obviously, it wasn't as exciting as Charlie Mini Mike Davies over there. But no, yeah, it was. I'm just wondering when we're gonna get sun in California again. At least where I live, dude. It's just I've had enough. I might protest soon.
You weren't even there. You were in Dallas.
That's true, but I came back. I was only there for a day. I get back, before breakfast most mornings on Sundays, and then just no sun. So I'd like to have some of that, or at least 11 houses like Charlie, where you don't really care where the weather is because you can just go to the next place.
And Charlie, what's up, man? Nice sweater. In Soccer We Trust, looking good, looking handsome. In that morning footy like glow you have right now on the new Golazo channel on CBS Sports, Pluto TV, Paramount Plus. Everybody go check it out. It's free. Chuck, how's it going?
I mean, I couldn't be better. We have sun. We have Stamford, Connecticut. I'm in the studio. Yeah, I mean, I'm loving life. I'm excited for U.S. Mexico. I know we're going to get into it. It's you're heading into the warm weather here in New England.
It's nice. It's a nice time to get out the boat. I'm sure you have a few of those and hit the water in Cape Cod or wherever the hell you go. All right, if you're watching, yacht. I said
very, very large boat.
I feel like I disrespected all the hard work you've put in to get that yacht. All right, so if you're watching on the YouTubes, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Leave us comments. We want to read those, of course. If you're listening on your podcast platform of choice, download, follow, leave a 5-star review. We would appreciate that. And little word of mouth ask here. Go share this podcast with a friend. Tell somebody that you love that this is the podcast they need to be listening to. We greatly appreciate it. All right. So we have the Continental Classico, All-State, making up a game out of thin air. But guess what? We qualified for the 2026 World Cup, boys, and we need as many meaningful friendlies that we can get just to get our player pool some valuable minutes. And this is in an open FIFA window, so this is very domestic on both sides for the U.S. and for Mexico. We talked about it a little bit last week, Heath. Let's hear from Charlie, though, about the U.S. team. Now, Paxten Aaronson has been called in. Paul Arriola is out due to hamstring concern, and Christian Roldan is out due to being in concussion protocol. Hopefully, both of those guys get better soon. So Aaronson comes in, but we get a little thin at the top. Now, we lose, I guess, some options. So up top, we only have 4 forwards. Cade Cowell, Jesus Ferreira, Jordan Morris, Brandon Vasquez. So we usually start with the back and go to the front. But Charlie, because you're our resident number 9 and our attacking specialist here on In Soccer We Trust, who's your front 3 for this game? I'm actually pretty curious because Brandon Vasquez hasn't been hitting the back of the net like he was last season. And Jesus Ferreira could play the 10 in this particular game. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think Brandon Vasquez does get the start.
Okay.
Just because he got his opportunity in January camp. I think he did well for what was asked of him, but didn't get an opportunity to get called in the Nations League. So for me, it makes sense that he gets the opportunity to play. And then I think Jordan Morris, just because he's been red hot, is also along the front 3. And
I mean, he's been playing better as a 9, though, frankly. When he plays in the 9 spot for the Sounders, he's been hitting the back of the net. Now he has to make way for Raul Ruiz-Diaz, and they get their asses slapped by the Timbers 4-1 this past weekend. They were up 1-0 on that one, but not as impactful. So I just wanted to know if you would even consider putting J-Mo at the 9, or if you put him out wide and just make room for Brandon Vasquez up top. And there's options for Anthony Hudson.
Yeah, I think with the lack of wingers per se, that I think you have to start Jordan Morris and Cade Cowell on the other side.
Okay.
I think that makes sense given the options that you have.
All right. And so Heath, talk to me about put yourself in Anthony Hudson's shoes. What do you want to? Okay, I'm sure you would. I don't. Maybe you guys switch when you go have coffee together. I don't even know if you
would love to. Size. I'm having coffee now. He just brought it by the house.
And tell me about your sweater as well. The design behind it.
Yeah, what's working for people that can't see it?
I think it's great. Like it's an oversized sweater.
A rug I would have.
No, I like it. I'm just inquiring about it.
Yeah, it's just one of these like cool oversized sweaters that's just like comfy because we can't get spring here in California, so still sweater weather.
All right.
Okay, so you're in Anthony Hudson's sweater and his shoes, Heath. So
Anthony Hudson's dad's sweater would probably be the.
So what are you telling? Let's keep it in the front three. What do you want to see out of your attack to obviously help uplift these guys to make sure that they're challenging whoever's in the team when we have all of our players available?
Well, I think this, oddly enough, you mentioned the Dallas game, right? And Dallas played in a 4-4-2 with Jesus Ferreira playing underneath the top striker. I think he's much better. They didn't do it well, but they did well in the game before that where they played with the 2 striker system. So I think when I think about Jesus Ferreira, I think that's the only world in which you see him. I don't think he can be our lone number 9 for the national team anymore. And so I'm making the argument in the same way that he's different because he's a little bit more of a withdrawn striker. Maybe you put him in that 10 spot but like his connectivity to somebody ahead of him was great. Not necessarily in this game. And so that's one. Paul McCall, I think, had a great game as well, so deserves the call up. But my point is that similar to Chuck Davies, best in a 2-striker system, maybe it isn't a front 3. Maybe it is a front 4 or a 2-striker system that you could start to look at something differently because we don't have just a single number 9 that I think is in this call up, or maybe it's a Morris and Ferreira, or just thinking. I'm trying to think differently about just trying to jam the same sort of system with the same players. If we've got certain players that can benefit out of a new system, why don't we just go with a 4-4-2? Maybe that means you go with the back 3 to add more players in the higher up the field, but that's my initial thinking.
4-4-2, baby.
Yeah.
What is old is new again. Judgmental.
Hey, by the way,
society.
Both teams played with 4-4-2s this weekend. Real Salt Lake played in 4-4-2 and FC Dallas played in 4-4-2. And I was watching a game. It was like a game from the early 2000s, guys. It was magical. Occupying center backs.
Diamond.
Yeah. One guy checks back, the other one runs over the top. It was just classic things that you don't see anymore. And I'm genuinely curious if we're going to start to see some of that shifting back because nobody sits in those mid blocks, right? Either you're in a high block or a low block now. Could a 4-4-2 be a new way in which teams approach? Because very few teams actually play with 2 strikers anymore.
Well, Judgmental in the comments says this is a game to try to maybe mix it up. Maybe you put J-Mo at the 9, maybe you put Ferrer at the 10, maybe you put Dest as a winger. And why not? I think Mexico is going to probably try to do the same thing, or at least I would encourage them in some capacity under manager Diego Coca, who's had a ton of success as a manager at the club level playing a 3-5-2, but every time he's lined up as the manager of Mexico, it's always in their traditional 4-3-3. And I wonder if he's going to start to shape the team in his mold and the way that he likes to play, and why not in this game, right? So very similar to the why not for us. Is this the time to try to experiment with formations, with where players have their starting positions or whatever it may be? I like Ferreira finding those pockets underneath. I do agree with you guys that he's more effective in that spot. Now, there was a question too from producer Alex who said, and this is more, I guess, for me and Heath, because I don't remember Charlie ever doing any defending, but which of the front 3 or 4 would we not want to face? At least,
hey, Charlie defended, by the way. I'll give him that. If there was Charlie, crap, hey,
insulted right now.
absolute crap player, but a great engine on Charlie, huh? Like
absolute engine. Here. Like,
absolute engine.
Shaping the play to one side. Excellent.
Yeah. Hey,
on one side.
Charlie, you don't have to win the ball. You just need to force that first player to put his head down.
Predictable.
Make the game predictable.
Make the game predictable.
Charlie would be great.
Easy.
The first line of defense.
Charlie was in the wrong generation because he would have been great in this sort of high press world. The Gegenpress, where you win the ball high up the field. Charlie forces those turnovers, and then and that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I bring this up. I think it's a good question because if I was a center back and I had Vasquez, okay, I know that it's going to be a physical battle. I know that I'm going to have to try to find my advantages and my leverages where I can, try to keep everything in front of me, make him play backwards. He's amazing for Cincinnati when Lucho Acosta's on the ball. because Lucho Acosta can play that final pass and in different ways, over the top, on the grounds, on crosses. The incredible player. And when he didn't play this weekend for Cincinnati did not look great. And Vasquez was really limited in his influence. If you put Ferreira in the 10, this is where I'm going with this, Chuck. If you put Ferreira at the 10, do you start to have somebody in that midfield spot that could unlock that for Vasquez? And I think make Vasquez more dangerous as it pertains to getting in behind. You clearly are shaking your head, so you disagree. When I look at the rest of our midfielders, though, maybe Alan Senora would be a guy that can make that final pass, but everybody else, Jackson Ewell, Paxten Aaronson, James Sands, Aiden Morris, Kellen Acosta, okay, they're solid, right? Can they do that Lucho Acosta type pass that Vasquez has been benefiting from? I don't know. Go ahead, Chuck. Go ahead. Take it away, Mr. Head Shaker.
Yeah, Mr. Head Shaker. Mr.
Never
never satisfied with anything.
Never satisfied.
No, I'm not shaking at what you're saying, Jimmy. I'm shaking my head at Andy SVT8 in the YouTube comments.
Oh, there he goes, Charlie. Triggered again.
I'm not taking the bait.
He's triggered by the comments.
I'm not getting triggered. I am not taking the bait with his.
Oh my God! I've been shaking my head to that.
Yeah.
Read the comment. Read the comment, Charlie. Read the comment.
All right, Andy SVT8. We always see him on the pod, so I love.
Not for long. Not for long. If Charlie has anything to do with
it. Hey, I appreciate you tuning in. I love the attempt to get me.
He got you, dude. You're already emotional.
He believes.
Now.
Hey, he's not attempting. He's just speaking his mind, Charlie. This is what he truly believes.
Yes.
But you would be 7th on today's depth chart.
Yes, Andy says Charlie would be 7th on today's depth chart.
Hey,
I think there's a game in the comments. There's a game in the comments, Charlie. They try to see how fast they can trigger you in each show, and this one took them less than 12 minutes. So congratulations.
Oh, stop it! I didn't let it. I did not get triggered. What I'm saying is, it was a good attempt. It was a good attempt. No, I don't think we have in this camp. There isn't Jimmy. There's not. We don't have creative number 10s, attacking midfielders. And I think one portion that you're forgetting about the Cincinnati attack is this Brenner. Brenner also playing alongside Brendan Vasquez because of his runs. He's pulling center backs out of position as well. So whether it's leaving Brendan Vasquez 1v1 for whipped in balls, and that's going to be his bread and butter, or now two defenders, center backs are they don't know where Brendan Vasquez is because they're focused on Brenner and his movement and Lucho Acosta because a lot of center backs tend to ball wash. Keep the comments coming because I'm not.
Charlie's behind Zardes, clear.
Jack says Charlie's behind Zardes. So I'm kind of curious. Andy, come back on and tell us who are the 6 better players than Chuck on the current roster. Oh, that's what I want.
Hey,
the Trigger Charlie Award goes to.
J-Mo Smooth.
We should have a Trigger Charlie Award. That's amazing. Yeah. I love
that. It's not happening today. I'm not getting triggered.
Oh, he's getting some. He's getting some love back. They're bringing him back around from Con FM. Why are you two treating today's guest Charlie like this? No wonder he's never on the show. That's because he's not a guest. We're treating him like a guest because he hasn't been showing up lately. You know?
It's 2 shows that I missed.
Hey, that's enough for us to just build a little bit of.
Man. Now I'm completely sidetracked as I name the 6 players in my head that are better than Charlie right now on the current.
All right, here you go: Zardes, Vasquez, Morris, Brian Gutierrez,
Cade Cowell.
Go ahead, Charlie. Balogun.
Yeah, too bad he's not
playing for us yet.
Yeah,
you can't count Balogun. Oh man! All right, so I think we have a pretty good idea of at least could be a possibility to have some tinkering. Go ahead.
You don't think we're gonna play with 2 strikers?
Well, we could have a Ferreira and Vasquez, and then Ferreira to what he said before just drops in underneath. I mean, then it looks like a 4-5-1, or it could still be a 4-3-3, but on paper it's a 4-4-2.
I just don't see a way that Jordan Morris doesn't start in this match.
Right. It's just a matter of whether he starts in the 9 or if he starts out wide. I get the sense that you're going to roll out Vasquez again. So J-Mo on one side, Cade Cowell on the other. It's just a matter of whether Ferreira slots in at the 10, and then you just have for me, I think you go Acosta and Aiden Morris. That's who I think you go with. Paul McCall just got called in. He's not coming in. James Sands won't start. Jackson Ewell probably won't start. Senora would be the only maybe playmaker that you could put in there, but I don't think it will be. I think it's Acosta and Morris and then Ferreira. That's my midfield 3. That's what I'd like to see. I'm just throwing that out there. Guys, midfield 3, what do you like?
Wait, so give me those three again.
I said Acosta, Morris,
Acosta,
and Jesus Ferreira at the 10.
Okay, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
mind that.
Yeah, thanks.
To be honest,
I
think that's a good trio.
Hey, I will say this though. I watched this game, and it was Jesus Jimenez playing next to Ferreira when they defended. And the biggest problem with Ferreira at the 10 spot, he doesn't defend. And unless you're a true number 10, and I've told this story before when I used to get in almost fistfights with his dad, David Ferreira, because he wasn't doing his job as the 10. Then he flipped that switch, and I said, you know what? You walk around all you want, man. I will run for you anywhere. But Jesus Ferreira is more like a withdrawn striker, not a traditional number 10. But in a team
But if you have Morris and Acosta in there, then those guys can cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, but you still can't have, like, the game is good enough now technically across the board that you can play through anybody. If you have somebody arrive late on a press or not doing that job like we used to have, you'd have back in our like I say our era, but it was a little bit different. Now, if you have one guy, teams everybody's technical enough to play through a midfield if you have somebody arrive late on a press. That's my only worry in transition.
But you could, in theory, if you wanted to get back into the 4-4-2, you could just drop one of your wingers into that midfield spot. Or even centrally, and allow Ferreira a little bit more of that freedom just to kind of roam.
Oh, now I'm playing up that side, Jimmy. You're
okay. That means that Mexico still has to identify that. No. I mean, they should probably start Gallardo and Alvarez, Mexico. I'm very curious to see if Diego Coca, the manager, is going to go with his 3-5-2 and see if he can start to mold these players into that. It's going to be pretty interesting. But let's pivot over to. Well, actually, we got to do the back four. Charlie, what's your back four for this particular game?
Ooh,
and your goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Me and Heath talked about it a little bit last week, so we'll just play off of what you say.
All right. Goalkeeper, I think Celentano gets
You mean the guy that just gave up 5 to St. Louis this past week?
Yeah, that's what I think Sean Johnson starts in goal. I think it's right back Serginho Dest, right center back Walker Zimmerman, left center back. I think he's going to go to Aaron Long, and left back Caleb Wiley.
Okay. Wow.
That's right. This is how I think.
Okay, so you're going Dest, just so I can I was not paying attention, but now I am. I'll be honest. Zimmerman and
Long
and Wiley.
Wiley.
That's
I'd put Josh Winder in there for Long. I don't need to see any more of Aaron Long.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a Mexico game. You don't want to get slapped by Mexico in a friendly or otherwise, or in the Continental Classico, or in a Gold Cup final, for example.
I was there for that one here.
Yeah, so was I.
0-0.5.
You don't forget in Mexico, it doesn't matter who they put on. Like these games, call it a friendly or not. Like I know this is like a series going forward. You still got to go out and try to beat Mexico every single time.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Mexico then. Carlos Acevedo probably going to start. Got 5 caps. The other 2 goalkeepers, similar to ours, have 0 caps. He plays for Santos Laguna. He'll probably get the start. You got Gallardo and Kelvin Alvarez outside backs. 31-year-old Nestor Araujo, I think, is being pipped to start this one, partnering with Israel Reyes. And then Luis Chavez, if you remember him, scored a banger against Saudi Arabia, free kick in their last group stage game. And Charlie Rodriguez, he'll probably be I like Charlie Rodriguez a lot, good player. Fernando Beltran looks like he might be getting the start. Henry Martin is going to be out. That's why they brought in Efrain Alvarez, who actually came on as a super sub for the Galaxy in El Tráfico this past weekend. He gets brought in. Alexis Vega is good, but Henry Martin's a big miss for them. He's got 26 goals and 11 assists in 37 or 38 games for Club America. Speaking of that, we had Mr. Alejandro Zendejas scoring 2 goals for Club America. It would have been nice to maybe see him in this one. And then Uriel Antuna probably on the other side. So Vega and Antuna are going to be the wingers. Again, though, I'm kind of curious if they're going to be any tinkering from Diego Coca, because they haven't looked great in the Nations League, with Jamaica twice and Suriname twice. 2 wins, 2 draws, but still giving up a lot of chances. So I wonder how they tighten things up, because Diego Coca is known for really being pragmatic and smart on the defensive side of the ball. Any thoughts on Mexico from either one of you guys? Chuck, I'll come to you first.
I think this is a relatively strong Mexican side. They're going to keep possession. They're going to dominate possession. It's going to be tough. I think this will be more of the we have to be tactically set up well. A lot of chasing and running. We can't lose the ball. First touch has to be sharp. This is going to be a tough game for this group for the U.S.
Okay. And give me your score line before I throw it over to Heath. What are you thinking in this one? Okay, he's not ready to answer, everybody. Heath, why don't you go?
Dang, someone just hit the mute button on Chuck.
Chuck's reading the comments. He's waiting to see what the comments
Oh, yeah. Now he's pretending to be actually muted.
We put him on the spot. He wasn't ready for the hot seat.
It's
too hot.
It's that Zoom call. He's like, oh, yeah, you're on mute. You're on mute. Oh, it's too bad. We passed it. No, I would say I'm going to say 1-1 in this one. I don't see
so
it being...
safe. I was thinking the same
Oh
thing.
my God, the ultimate safe prediction.
Oh, said the guy who didn't give a prediction. Said the guy who went silent on the prediction is
Jimmy,
critical of me.
1-1. Jimmy, he went 1-1.
I know. Honestly, if he hadn't gone 1-1, I might have done it just because it's nice and safe.
Now you get to hedge. I mean, I couldn't tell you what either lineup's going to be. So how can I give you a score prediction? I'm not even
saying.
I might be 9 players off of what the lineup is. And you want me to throw out
but it's
throw out
Derby game. It doesn't matter about form who's out there.
I'm going to go 0-0.
Oh my
dude, it could be 0-0. That's the thing.
I hope it's not. I hope we see a couple goals for sure.
I'm going
hopefully it's Dos a 0 in favor of Estados Unidos. But should be a great game. Very excited for it. That game.
Jimmy, what's your prediction? Don't run away.
Oh yeah,
this.
I said I hope Dos a 0. Like you,
okay.
I agree that the lineup is. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
If you're betting on the game, what's the game?
If I'm betting on the game, I'm staying away from the result, and I'll probably go under 2.5 goals. That's what I would look at.
Charlie, you let him get out with the wager, playing the lines.
I might just do a little prop bet. And that's what I would look at. But because I would look at starting lineup. Honestly, if anybody wants to wager on this game, just look at starting lineups before you make any decisions to see the formations and who's doing what. Because if they're doing a lot of tinkering, it could just really stifle anything you wanted. That's me putting like my wagering hat on. Anyway, we're going to take our first break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we're going to break down CONCACAF Gold Cup groups and the path to the final. Hopefully we get there as the defending champions, of course. And hopefully we face Mexico in that one. And then, of course, we'll do our weekend recap for all of our player pool in the U.S. men's national team. Don't go anywhere.
Absolutely magisterial here.
Welcome back, everybody, to In Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Heath Pearce and Charlie Davies, and we want to let everybody know, as a reminder, that we are more than a YouTube-first podcast. It's a community, and you're all a part of it. And now you can rep that community with official In Soccer We Trust gear only found on the Paramount shop. Yes, discover T-shirts, mugs, sweatpants, laser-engraved pint glasses, mahogany wood paneling like Chuck has right behind him, and so much more. So make sure you tell all of your friends and family what is up by supporting us. You can go get 20% off your order. This podcast exclusive code Soccer20 during checkout. That's Soccer20, and it's only available for our listeners. So head over to ParamountShop.com. collections/in-soccer-we-trust and shop now. Hopefully you're writing that down. That is a long website name. All right, let's talk about the Gold Cup, CONCACAF Gold Cup. We are the defending champions, and the groups have come out, boys, and we are in with Jamaica, Nicaragua, and there's a playoff winner. Given the teams in there and given the quality that I've seen from them before, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be Curaçao, which is actually pretty difficult. I think Curaçao can make people... Curaçao. I think they're tough. I remember playing against any of the Caribbean nations, but it's never an easy game. And if you don't score on them early and they start to get a little bit of leaf, those games become very difficult very quickly. But thinking about this group, Heath, I'll come to you. It's looking manageable, though. When you look at Jamaica, if they bring their full roster, they got some ballers that can absolutely play us off the field. And actually, we suffered our biggest upset in Gold Cup history back in 2015 when Jurgen Klinsmann was in charge, and we lost to Jamaica 2-1 in the semifinals. So they have a little history of pulling off upsets in this one. And if we get second in our group, we might face Mexico in a semifinal instead of the final like everybody wants. Your thoughts on this group?
Well, yeah, when you look at, just to speak on Jamaica, if you look at just the fact of what the opportunity is with the 3 host countries already ruled out for 2026, you've got to be deep in the recruitment game, right? Of figuring out who wants to be part of that project and going after your top players. This could be the first opportunity to roll them out in official competition. I don't know who those players are going to be, and what the ability to actually win those players over are, but that in itself is going to be a danger for CONCACAF. Fortunately, the U.S. doesn't have to go through qualifying. and deal with him there. But in this one, we could see some high quality players. It just depends whether they bring them. It depends kind of how much of a team they play as. We saw it took a while in qualifying for them to get going as a team, get some of their best players in to qualifying, and it was a little bit too little too late. And then the preliminary, I haven't looked at to see who that could potentially be for that fourth game, but it's a pretty good matchup. It's just you just hope that US and Mexico win their groups and they'll have to face each other until the final.
Now, Charlie, Anthony Hudson, who's still the interim manager, but clearly the guy until we hear otherwise, had this quote about the Gold Cup draw. We feel we have a really healthy, strong player pool because we have, just to give some context to what he's saying, we have the Nations League semifinal and potentially the final prior to this tournament. And then he continues to add, this Anthony Hudson, we are just focused on making sure that we put out a squad, a team that we feel that can win the next game, the next tournament, as we demonstrated in 2021 very well. It's something that we believe could work for us going forward. And he's referencing us winning the Nations League final against Mexico in Denver. Heath was there on the ground. Crazy game and very memorable, with the most famous photos in U.S. men's national team history, with Christian shushing the crowd. And then going on to win the Gold Cup with a completely different team for the most part and beating Mexico again in the final. So do you think we'll do that again? Because Anthony Hudson was the assistant to Greg during that process, Chuck. And I wonder if he's even going to be in charge when this tournament rolls around.
I have a feeling he'll still be in charge for this Gold Cup or for the Nations League, but I'm not so sure about the Gold Cup. I could see them making a hire as a sporting director and then the GM, and then maybe a swift hire manager by the Gold Cup. So he's right about one thing, and I would say that's the talent and the depth of that talent within the U.S. men's national team. And you have a lot of young up-and-coming players who are in Europe, who have gotten minutes, who I think are ready for the next step the following season, next season. And you have players who are, you need to push a little bit. They need to be in good club situations and are still yet to fulfill their potential, but gained a lot of experience this past year with World Cup qualifying and the World Cup. So, I mean, the expectation is you win. Whether he's the manager or the next manager, you got to get back to being the top dog in CONCACAF. And right now it's Canada. Canada are the number one team. And people just have to swallow that pill. They finished top of the World Cup qualifying campaign. They have the biggest player in Alphonso Davies right now in CONCACAF. They are the top team until they're beat in Nations League, and then you got the Gold Cup. So I love the fact that U.S., Mexico, and Canada feel it's open for this next round of who's going to be the team to beat for the next 4 years.
So as a reminder, FIFA rankings came out recently, and the Kings of CONCACAF, known as Canada, are currently ranked 47th. We're 13th.
They got battered at the World Cup. Are we not counting that for anything? Like, I agree with Charlie. Like, the U.S. finished, what did we finish? Third in World Cup qualifying behind Canada and Mexico, but we still won the last Gold Cup. We got out of our group. So I think there's still some argument to say the real kings of CONCACAF control that whole narrative to be the king of CONCACAF. I think Canada had their moment. They qualified for the World Cup. They were the short-term king of CONCACAF by doing so.
And as it turned out, they were in the group of death, by the way.
They were. It was a really tough thing, but they did have situations that they didn't do. They could have done better with. I'm not saying that they could have done that much more. I'm saying that, but if they do something in Nations League now, if they do something in the Gold Cup, then I think we've got a real narrative for kings of CONCACAF because
which is nice.
I just got triggered. All right, deep housing.
Yeah, get him, Charlie.
It's a double trigger award today for Charlie Davies. What did he say? Tell us the comment. All
right. So I'm talking about Canada is the team to beat in CONCACAF right now. They dominated World Cup qualifying. They are the best team in my eyes right now until the U.S. and Mexico supplants them. And right now, Mexico is the third best team. The U.S. are the better team, and U.S. have to beat Canada. The Nations League is set up to show who the best team is right now in North America. It's a U.S.-Mexico semifinal, which I'm pumped about. The U.S. are the better team at the moment, but they don't have a long-term future with the manager and a plan, which could work against them in this Mexico side. And Diego Coca hasn't inspired anyone yet. I don't think he's really inspired the players yet. So U.S. have to beat Mexico. Canada have to obviously take care of Panama, but a U.S.-Canada final, that's what I'm looking forward to. And D-Powser, much as it might be hard for you to admit, but Canada are the real deal. They are the best team right now, based on results. Maybe not overall talent, but based on results right now, their primetime players have stepped up in the big matches in North America. Maybe not
in World Cup qualifying. That's what he's trying to say. In Gold Cup, Nations League.
Yeah, they're both
World Cup,
MIA in those.
Okay.
But World Cup qualifying.
And then in the World
Cup,
they had the group of death. And their coach kind of put them in a bad situation against Croatia. So I as bad as the World Cup results were, I wouldn't put that much stock into it that you're going to say all of a sudden they're not even in the conversation. And
I'm saying they're not kings.
Expect that we should put that type of pressure on our group, on this generation, to push for more.
Okay, I don't think Charlie's triggered everybody, so that's fun. We got him, Andy and puts out a comment. Me and Deep Hauser today, handshake, because they both triggered Charlie. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
With Canada's group in the Gold Cup, they got Canada, Guatemala, Cuba. And then there is a playoff between Trinidad and Tobago, Guadeloupe, Guyana, and Grenada. So we'll see who goes through there. Group C, Costa Rica, Panama, El Salvador. Then a playoff, Martinique, St. Lucia, Suriname, Puerto Rico. Group B is Mexico, Haiti, Honduras. And always tough in the CONCACAF, Qatar is in the Gold Cup as well.
We're the 42nd team in CONCACAF now.
Yes.
We have 41 nations. Now we got 42.
We got 42. No, apparently there was a deal in place that they were going to be part of the 2 consecutive Gold Cups prior to them joining before the 2022 World Cup, so the last one. And they were pretty good. I actually thought that they enhanced the tournament and had some good players, but didn't turn into any success at the World Cup itself.
They played a nice style.
They did. They actually went out and tried to play, which I appreciated. Didn't really sit in and make it tough at times. But so that's the Gold Cup groups. It looks like, to what one of you said earlier, that if the U.S. and Mexico both win their groups, then they're on a pathway to not face each other in an earlier round and hope to get to the final, which is what everybody wants, at least maybe from a broadcasting standpoint. And, anytime there's a big game with a lot on it, it's always a lot of fun. So that should be pretty good. I guess the next question is to follow up on this. What kind of roster do you think we're going to see? And let's just say Anthony Hudson's still in charge, and he's clearly going to follow the blueprint from 2021. So a lot of the names that we're going to see in this upcoming U.S.-Mexico game, which is the 75th time that these nations have faced each other. Maybe we'll get 76 here. And, we're going to get 76 in the Nations League semi, but maybe we'll get 77 in the Gold Cup final. I think we're going to see a lot of familiar faces here, Heath, that we're seeing right now in this friendly, because that's kind of what we saw the last time around.
Yeah, maybe not this deep, I think, into our player pool, but I do think we'll maybe see some carryover from Nations League to the Gold Cup players that need that, right? And, a Serginho Dest being an example of somebody in this one that I think could, until they figure out the club situation, or players that want to be in this situation better than their current club environment. I think we could see some of that. And I'm just curious, thinking about that window of time where you'll start to see, like, the Premier League's going on tour this summer. Individual teams are coming and playing in like a multi-6-team tournament. You've got Leagues Cup happening during that window. You've got it is like, you will never see a not busy summer where like European teams just came to tour again. And so I'm wondering what's the best environment for a lot of those players. But I think we could see a hybrid, maybe what I would think is closer to our B team versus a little bit deep. I'm not saying this is our C team for this game, but it's deeper into our roster that I think we could have a mix of A and B for that second tournament.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when the Gold Cup final is going to be. Oh, it looks like July 16th is when it's going to be. And the Leagues Cup starts on July 21st.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see how teams are going to balance that. MLS teams, Liga MX teams, because if we're drawing a lot of domestic players for these tournaments, some of these teams could be a little pissed that they're going to miss some of their key players at key moments, or even leading up to this tournament. What do you say, Chuck?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is it's a lot of minutes in a short amount of time, and there's no World Cup qualifying, so these tournaments are really important. to get a sense of
good
what
shout.
it is to compete in. So you have to put a lot of stock in Gold Cup because there is no World Cup qualifying. So you need to bring in your best players just to get the chemistry right, to get the level of competition up, to raise it across CONCACAF. So you would expect everyone to bring in the best players unless they're on the verge of a move in Europe.
Okay, so let's do this. We got a couple more minutes before we get to our second and last break of the show and get into our weekend recap. At the end of the Gold Cup, and let's take this friendly into consideration, Nations League and the whole Gold Cup itself, of the players that are available in our player pool, who do you think is going to be the one breakout that we're going to be talking about going, this guy is legit? This is the real deal. I already know Heath's going Aiden Morris because I can feel the Aiden Morris emanating.
Caleb Wiley for me.
Caleb Wiley. Okay, well, give us for people that might not know about Caleb Wiley, give us some context for him.
Caleb Wiley is a flying left-footed player. We don't have another option. He plays for Atlanta United. He's 18. We don't have another option at left back other than from Anthony Robinson. So Caleb Wiley is the most intriguing to me, and I think that he stands a good chance mixed with an experienced group to really excel in this format. So I think Caleb Wiley could be the one to surprise all of us because there's no one there to really take minutes away from him.
No, I like that shout. I wonder what happens with Kevin Paredes. Like if he's somebody that we bring into the Gold Cup, can see over an extended period of time. Because I think even though he's a little bit more attack-minded than Caleb Wiley, though Caleb has shown he can get bomb forward too, I think that there's a conversation to be had about having Kevin Paredes potentially be in that spot moving forward. Also, if you want to join this conversation, hit us up on Twitter, ISWTPod, drop us a follow there, or hit us up in the comments right now. We'd love to get your thoughts on who's going to be the breakout player for us. Obviously somebody that's on the radar. It doesn't have to be somebody completely out of left field, but maybe if you want to throw in Richie Ledesma, that could be a possibility. He's now getting some minutes with NYCFC.
Who's it for you, Jimmy?
Well, I was going to go to Heath first, but if you want me to go first, I'm happy to. I'll go Josh Winder. He's playing for Louisville City. He's going to make a move to Benfica here in the summer, and I'm really excited for his upside, and I want to see him get at least 60 minutes against Mexico. He got called in for this friendly, a center back with a huge potential, but as someone that's learned the position and it took a lot of time to learn how to play, it's nice to see his instincts and his understanding and his IQ for the game is off the charts. I really enjoy watching him play. And it took me to be around 28, 29 years old to get to where he is at 18 or 17 or 18 or wherever he is age-wise. He's a teenager still, which is crazy. But I really like his upside, so I'm hoping it'll be him, because we could have a Winder-Miles Robinson pairing here in the near future. And it's just great to have that type of depth and to have some young players coming through, especially at the position I love the most, center back. How about you, Heath?
Yeah, for this summer, I'm looking at Paxten Aaronson, who just started to get his first significant minutes this weekend. I'm thinking about Taylor Booth as a player that, and again, when I think about Wiley, I'm like, I don't need him to be a star at 18 now. I just want to see what the upside is. I want to see okay, this guy's playing significant minutes at his club level. We saw this though with George Bello. We saw other players get significant minutes and then boom, they move abroad, not the right move, and then all of a sudden they're buried.
Sammy Vines.
We saw Gianluca Busio, Tanner Tessman. These guys end up in environments that are not better than the ones that they came from. Maybe in terms of development, Serie A was great for them last year, but now they're buried somewhere where it's tough for us to really get a good look at them and see where their development curve is. And you wonder, in a second division, is that better than being in an MLS club where maybe you don't have as much pressure, but you do have a more nurturing environment that you came from. So that's for me. Booth is a player, and
Booth is a good shout,
and Aaronson for me as two players. I mean, Aiden Morris is one where I'm like,
I wonder if I
never know if it'll translate.
World Cup too, right?
Yeah,
so I got to take that into consideration. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
But Aiden Morris isn't super young. Like, he's not like a teenager, and so I wonder about a player like him. Like, will it actually translate to the national team? Will we see an upside where you go, okay, I could see him as the next one, or is he just one of those players that's super good at the club level, but it doesn't necessarily translate to, because it's based on a style of play and in a system that he's playing in versus in the national team, which you have to be able to play in a number of different ways.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see just which players emerge. And really, we get to sink or swim time, right? This is why you play these games. I know, again, there's a lot of people like, who cares about this US-Mexico game? But it's a really good opportunity for us to evaluate our players in a high pressure situation. And that's what we want. We want to see which guys can handle, which ones can show a little bit of what he's saying, that promise, like, okay, maybe it wasn't perfect today, but you can see that there's some elements there that once they get another couple of years of experience under their belt, they're going to be real special players. So it's all really important. I'm really looking forward to Wednesday's game in particular. All right, we're going to take our second and last break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, it's our weekend recap, so don't go anywhere.
It's European football's most mind-blowing,
How good is that?
hair-raising,
It's an absolute banger.
heart-stirring competition. The UEFA Champions League quarterfinals on CBS, and stream every match live on Paramount+.
Hey, ho, let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to In Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Heath and Chuck. And if you're a US-based fan of the beautiful game, Paramount Plus is an absolute must-have subscription, from NWSL to the Champions League to Serie A and so much more in between. And if you're not sure if it's for you, then guess what? You can try 1 month for free by using the code NWSL 2023. Speaking of the NWSL, Julie Ertz, who hadn't played a meaningful game in 600 and something days, decided she's playing for Angel City for 1 year as she tries to get sharp and ready to go to potentially join the women for the Women's World Cup in Australia this summer. That's pretty exciting, pretty big deal. Angel City had to come back from 2 goals down to go 2-2 this weekend. I got season tickets, baby. Let's go, Angel City. So not the best results, but it could have been worse. You know, that's a draw that feels like a win. All right, let's get into our weekend recap. And I think we have to start with Daryl Dike. Sad news. It looks like he's torn his Achilles. He's going to be out for quite some time. And I don't know, Heath, should we let Chuck talk about him first? Chuck wasn't his biggest fan anyway, so.
Do it.
Go ahead, Chuck. What are we saying about Daryl Dike? This sucks. I mean, he was doing good things. He was finding that consistency. He was being, I feel like, more impactful with each passing game and trying to do those little things that I think you in particular wanted to see more of from him, and trying to influence and impact the game in different ways that maybe he wasn't doing as a younger player, but seemed like he was starting to turn a little bit of a corner, and then you have this, and it's a real shame.
Yeah, I really feel for him. I mean, this is a terrible injury. But in saying that, Miles Robinson came back from it. You know, Aguchi Onyewu had a couple
Brian
of
Ching.
scares, Brian Ching. So it's not something that he's not going to overcome. And it stinks in the moment, but he also has a good sense of humor about it. You know, saying, "Can you do it on a rainy night in Stoke?"
And he couldn't.
Yeah.
He's a player that obviously has a great positive attitude. I know he's going to bounce back. You learn a lot from being injured. It gives you perspective and just allows you to watch the game in a different way and learn and study not only your game tape, but seeing other strikers to add to yours. Sometimes it's good to take a pause. And the World Cup's in 2026, so it's a long road. This season isn't a make or break season for Daryl Dike to be able to participate in something, you work your whole life to be a part of. So just stay positive and keep going.
Yeah. We want that for Daryl for sure. Ricardo Pepi keeping it in the number 9 spot. Heath Pearce scores again, but it looks like Groningen is going to get relegated from the top division in the Eredivisie in Holland.
Yes. I just want him to just listen, man, head down, keep quiet. Don't say anything stupid in the next couple of months. I
feel like he likes to
I know, but
things out there that's not really helping his cause.
Like we said, I don't want him to wear a T-shirt that says like "Alone is hard" as his team goes down because he's the only one scoring goals right now. Any of those types of things, just quiet. You'll get that move. I'd love. I mean, for me, it's again stay in the Netherlands. I think that's the best place for him. For his development, he could leave in 2 years.
Is Ricardo Pepi? Is he our new Clint Mathis? Remember Clint Mathis when he? There's a famous story. He played at Hanover in the Bundesliga with Steve Cherundolo, and the manager didn't start him, so he brings him off the bench, and then Clint scores the game winner. And in his celebration, he goes over to the manager and points to his watch like, "You should have put me in sooner." Like, Clint Mathis is unbelievable. The having the chance to play with and against him. The guy he should have honestly accomplished more. We got to get him on the show. He'd be great to have on the show and kind of get his thoughts. I think he would even sit here and say that he probably should have done a little bit more and maybe should have been a little bit more humble in his journey. But that's what made him special, right? I mean, that's what makes Clint Dempsey special, because he has that chip on his shoulder. Does that work against him sometimes? Yes, of course. But that's also what propelled him to be as great as he was. And Clint was in that same category. So in some ways, Ricardo Pepi, I don't want him to lose a little bit of that edge, but it's not necessarily helping him at such a young age.
He's got to be able to dial it in,
A little bit. Yeah, there's got to be that
pick and
balance.
choose those
He's gotta
types
have
of
that
moments.
What a Clint Mathis story, though. What a player,
yeah,
too, when he was on his
he
game.
was a
Unstoppable. All right, so let's talk about Gio Reyna, Charlie Davies. He comes off the bench to score what we thought was stoppage time winner, but then Dortmund somehow coughed up a pretty bad goal. Defending is an art form that Dortmund have not mastered this particular season, especially in this game against Stuttgart. But nice to see Gio score, obviously have a big impact on the game, though it didn't turn into 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, he got 8 minutes. He came in the 82nd minute.
It's a good goal to
yeah.
minute ratio.
It seems like he has dropped down the totem pole like crazy after starting so strong in 2023 at Dortmund. And it just makes you wonder what else is playing into this. Is it just a loss of confidence or pressure, being up and down? Because it's not health. He's on the bench. He's always available, just not getting playing time, not getting minutes. So I love the fact that given 8 minutes, he still makes a massive impact and gets on the score sheet. You would think is the game winner when you score in the 92nd minute.
For sure.
But just we need Gio Reyna to play more often. And whether it's at Dortmund next season and there's a plan for him, and if not, he's got to make a move just similar to Christian Pulisic, similar to guys who aren't getting consistent minutes, and we need them to be able to fulfill their potential and help us in 2026, get to 2026 feeling good about making a deep run in the tournament. He needs to find a good spot where he's going to play every week.
I wonder what's going to happen with him in the summer. I feel like there's something going on at Dortmund that's bigger than or different than what's happening with the US, right? There's just something that's not clicking, or maybe it's just time for him, very similar to Christian, to just find a new patch of grass to go spread his wings somewhere else. I'm trying to use as many cliches as I possibly can here, but keep him going. Keep him in the Bundesliga. Go ahead, Heath.
Real quick on that, I was with Justin Merrim this weekend. I ran into him in the lobby, as I do, coffee shop. Of
course you do.
And he just said something to me that you can both appreciate, and it's different than Gio Reyna because of his age, but just sort of like, he go into all last year, played every game, right? This year, under the same coach with Pablo Mastroeni, he's not playing. And he had said how like quickly it all changes, right? And I think about that of like Gio Reyna being the young star, the next one, big price tag, worth a ton of upside. And then they bring in more players. He goes through these injuries. He goes through all these things. And just like, maybe it's not overnight, it's over the course of a season. Things have changed for him, right? And you can't just keep trying to force the same narrative that he's going to be this young star for Dortmund that's going to be sold on to the next thing. It might have to be a lateral move to the next place for him to start. And the reason I tell that story about Merrim is because he's older, right? And he went from being hugely impactful and the go-to guy to, a couple signings, things change. And then all of a sudden your new role is not like debatable or challengeable, right? He can't play better. He can't do anything to change that role. They brought in new players that are performing, and now you find yourself with a new, almost what I think is reputation that it's hard to climb out of. That I think the narrative of what it was going to be for him at Dortmund, I think may be past. He's still the same player that we know he's capable of being, but I think that, he's got to go somewhere different now. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, they have Daniel Malen, who they had signed from PSV to be in like the out and out striker, but with Sebastian Aller back in, he's been playing well. Julian Brandt's probably having the best season of his career. Karim Adeyemi's now healthy again. There's just no room for the guy. So yeah, to your point, that's a great story, and things do change quite quickly. And the opposite could be true, right? But I wonder, Ricardo Pepi found a new patch of grass and has done well on the personal level with Groningen, even though the team hasn't had a lot of success. So it'll be interesting to see. This is going to be a big summer for a lot of our guys, and I'm very curious to see what happens in their respective adventures in their professional careers. Keeping it, though, in the Bundesliga, Chuck, we had Paxten Aaronson making his home debut for Eintracht Frankfurt, came on with about 30 minutes left, taking on Joe Scally, who played 90 minutes for Borussia Mönchengladbach. Scally consistently in the lineup now, so it's good to see that. I wonder if that's going to continue into valuable minutes when the full team is together for the U.S. But nice to see Paxten getting some minutes and getting some – I mean, he was on the field when they got the game-tying goal, so that's always positive when you're in those positions in the field.
It is, and we've been there. You're in the match, and the team does well. It'd be nice to get the goal or assist, but when you're involved and you're on the pitch, you feel like that gives you another boost, that the team can have success with you there, that you're not taking away from the team, getting results, and it's obviously just another step for Paxten Aaronson. And I think we all know that they value him. They think very highly of him. This is always part of the process. Get some minutes, get some, you're training with the first team, you're getting some minutes here and there. He's starting to break through. And next year is when he's going to start to get real minutes. And this half year has really kind of prepped them for what to expect, the training methods, speaking the language, understanding the philosophy of the club and the coach. So I think what we're seeing is what it looks like to grind and understand and grow within a system, and a system that also has a plan for you. So I'm excited for the future of Paxten Aaronson.
What's interesting is when you say that, I think of Ricardo Pepi at Augsburg, right? They brought him into play right away. And I think this is smarter because with Paxten, Eintracht Frankfurt's like, we don't actually need you for this season, but he's been impressing from what we understand behind the scenes. And he's now starting to earn his minutes, but the plan wasn't for him to just come in and be this immediate impact savior, which is what Augsburg, I think, was expecting from Ricardo Pepi, which felt a little unfair. And I like what Eintracht's doing. I think this is the proper way to do that. Well, we have some of a clip of an interview from Paxten after the game. Let's hear what he had to say.
You played a very good game, was one of your first Bundesliga matches, and it felt like you were in the game. What did it feel for you?
No, it felt great being out there in front of the home fans, and especially in a super competitive match, and our home fans always bring it. So getting to experience the atmosphere and against a top Bundesliga opponent, it was great for me and the experience. And like you said, I thought I played a pretty good game. Always can improve, but hopefully I'm looking forward to more.
So anytime I hear Paxten speak, I think of Brendan. When I hear Brendan speak, I think of Paxten now because very good at sounding very similar. Now, let's do a little fun question. Which of these brothers is going to end up being the better player when their careers are done? Ooh, that's a tough one. Heath, I'm coming to you first.
Man,
awesome.
for a long time it was meant to be Paxten, right? I don't think people saw the trajectory that Brendan Aaronson has had. Now he's hit a little bit of that sort of plateau. Can he now take his game to the next level in a number of different situations? I mean, Paxten though is so young, and they're different types of players, so it's really hard to see. I think so much of a career has a lot to do with where you end up in terms of your club, the coaches, the environment, that type of thing has so much I guess power over what you actually become. I don't think it's always as easy as being like, put my head down no matter what club I'm at. And like, you need to be in the right environment. So it's just so hard to predict where they're going to end up. But I just know both of them are higher on the depth chart than Charlie is, in terms
definitely. They're definitely pushing Charlie down.
They're four or five or something like that, where Charlie's 7 right now,
All right. And Charlie, who do you think will be the better brother? What do you think?
Well, Paxten,
I'm not answering it because I don't want to answer it. That's a really hard question.
Well, to be fair, Paxten is at a higher level than Brendan was at this age.
That's a good point.
And so if you're looking just at where they are for pound at their age, Paxten is the better player. And I think Paxton's a little bit more aggressive in the final third. We've seen him with the youth national team. He'll score goals. He's more apt to take shots. Whereas I think Brendan's much more unselfish. He's a pass first type of player, and I think Paxten has that cold-blooded in him. He'll take shots from deep. He's more apt to create for himself. So I think the ruthlessness, I give the edge to Paxten. And what we saw with Paxten in MLS is he was still young in terms of being a midfielder to fight for in challenges, being a little bit stronger on the ball. Also, the defensive transition moments, can he be better? Think a little bit more ahead of the game. So I think maybe Brendan was a step higher in just thought process, being a few steps ahead in terms of knowing where to be, which players are going to be open, and that thought process of different options. But Brendan, obviously, Brendan's done well, and Paxten is starting to break through at a higher level in the Bundesliga, whereas Brendan had to go to Austria and kind of cut his teeth there. So I think Paxton's on obviously a fantastic trajectory, but you can't predict the future.
I get it. It's just more of a fun hypothetical. All right. Final thoughts for you guys. Obviously some big results in MLS. El Tráfico LAFC go to Galaxy's home stadium and win for the first time ever in that rivalry, which was a pretty big deal, 3-2. They tried to give it away at the end there, LAFC, but the Galaxy just couldn't find the back of the net. I will say Ricky Pooch was excellent in this game for the Galaxy. I thought he was fantastic. And if he continues to play like that, the Galaxy will end up winning some games at some point. There was the Jimmy Conrad derby, which we didn't bring up in the preview. My two former clubs, the Earthquakes and Sporting Kansas City, going after
Kansas City, man. Jimmy, tell us about that. Jeez,
no, there's nothing to
what's
say.
going on,
They're not good. They are not good. And
Jimmy, but I don't get. They weren't good last year. Then they slowly started turning around at the end with William Agata being brought in, and
sure.
You just felt that maybe there's a slimmer of hope.
They didn't make the playoffs, and then they gave their coach a 5-year extension.
How does that make sense? And then they're absolutely dreadful this year.
Yeah, I don't know. How much time do we have left in this podcast? So that's a big question, man. There's a lot to unpack there, and maybe we'll do it at another time. I'll just say that I really love and admire what Peter Vermes has built there. I mean, he's really gotten the ownership group to understand what it means to be a professional club with the stadium and the training facility. I know I'm going to make this quick. Training facility and all that stuff, but he's been there a long time, and he has a lot of the roles like sporting director, coach. Like, there's no accountability, I don't think, for him in a way that maybe would be for any other club that doesn't have someone, managing all those roles. So I wonder if the players and the organization overall, at least at the coaching level, just need to hear a new voice. And I think it might be time for that. But that means him basically firing himself as coach. And I don't know, knowing what I know about PV, I don't think that's going to be an easy extraction. So I wonder how that's going to go moving forward. But yeah, they're one of 2 winless teams in the league along with the LA Galaxy. So yeah, some big questions there around Kansas City and what that means for them going forward. But
no, Jimmy, I was going like this because Heath was getting the hook.
I thought no one was here, and then my wife walked into the garage and scared.
Said, it's time to get out.
Time to go.
No,
time to get out.
It scared the life out of me, because like we had window cleaners here, and they came and knocked on the window to tell me they were leaving after all this rain this year. So I figured nobody was in the house. And then somebody just walked into the garage right now and scared me.
I didn't see it. Now I'm bummed. I'm gonna have to rewind this and watch it later.
His eyes popped out of his head.
Oh my god!
All right, final thoughts from you, Heath. Any big games? Any big performances that you saw from any of our players?
No, I mean mostly that from what I'm hearing, McKinney and Aaronson are in the lineups today, which is nice to hear. If that's actually
they're playing. Leeds is taking on Liverpool. Game kicks off at 45 minutes. If you're watching this live, if you're listening to this later.
And my only other closing thought is just shame on Arsenal, what they're doing right now, stressing us all out. But biggest game of the year is on Wednesday against Man City, so we'll see how that all plays out.
That's the 26th, so you still got 9 more days, right, for that?
Yeah.
So how about you, Chuck? Final thoughts.
Just put in a performance that is going to give us a little bit of some hope and fight and just show the fight against Mexico. I would, in this game, I want to see 2 players in particular stand out. That is Jordan Morris. I think he's really, started to perform in MLS. I really want him to do well. And Caleb Wiley as a young 18-year-old getting an opportunity to play against Mexico. Like, let's go. Those are 2 players that I really have my eyes on, and I'm really hoping that they can put in a fantastic performance. And then, Serginho Dest, when you're on the outskirts, that you're kind of like you're on loan, but you're also like an outcast. You're not going to get playing time. You're not in the Champions League squad. It can be so difficult to train knowing that you're going to get nothing in return, no matter how well you perform. And it feels like he's in that position. So these are those moments where you can find the joy of the game again, that it doesn't weigh you down. And I'm hoping that he can get going in this match against Mexico. That performances against Mexico, they last. They don't go anywhere. They stay with you, and it stays with them.
I'm glad you brought that up. Roll the clip, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. We don't need to see my header against Mexico one more time. All right, the show's over, and Soccer We Trust is done. We're going to see you guys after the U.S.-Mexico game. We're going to go live, so make sure you come back here after you hit like and subscribe, turn on notifications to make sure you're live when we are going live, so we can break that whole game down and really get into it. So thank you for support and love and adoration as always, and we'll see you on Wednesday night. Go USA! Later!
Bye.